Hello, my name is Lucas. I'm 28 and I live in Austin, Texas. I work at a little coffee shop not far from downtown. One of those places where you learn regulars by name, where people bring their dogs, their laptops, or sometimes just their thoughts. Nothing glamorous, but I like it. It's honest work. I moved here a little over a year ago after a rough breakup in a job I couldn't stand anymore. I needed a reset, something slower, quieter. So now I rent a tiny apartment over a bookstore, ride my bike to work, and for the first time in a long while, I feel like I can breathe again. Now, I'm not saying I've got it all figured out. I still have student debt. I still microwave most of my dinners. And I still wake up some days wondering what the hell I'm doing. But life feels a bit more real now, tangible. Anyway, that's me. And this story starts with someone I didn't expect. Someone who walked into my quiet routine and said one sentence that changed everything. Her name's Haley. I didn't know that at first. At the time, she was just the woman with the latte and the sad eyes. She started coming in a few months ago, always around the same time in the morning, like clockwork. Tall, late 20s or early 30s, chestnut hair, always tied loosely dressed in those put-together outfits you'd expect from someone working in an office, maybe publishing or design. She never ordered anything but a medium latte, no sugar, and she never stayed long. Maybe 15 minutes tops, sat by the window, no phone, just staring out like she was waiting for something to happen or for something to stop happening. I don't know, but there was a kind of silence around her that didn't feel peaceful. It felt stuck. We never talked. I just served her coffee and nodded politely. She nodded back. Routine. Until one morning she came in and for some reason I felt bolder than usual. Maybe it was the extra espresso shot I'd snuck into my own cup. Maybe I was tired of silence. She stepped up to the counter like always, and I smiled. Medium latte, no sugar, I said, already making it. She smiled faintly. You've got a good memory. Hazard of the jaw, I replied, sliding her cup across the counter. Then without really thinking, I added, too bad you're taken. I said it with a smirk, not creepy, not pushy, more like one of those harmless, flirty comments you throw into the void, expecting nothing in return to break the monotony. But she didn't laugh, didn't roll her eyes. She looked me square in the eyes and said, doesn't mean I'm happy. Then she turned and took her coffee and walked out like she hadn't just dropped a grenade on the floor. I just stood there, still holding a wet rag in one hand, mouth slightly open. One of my coworkers asked if I was okay. I didn't answer. I just kept replaying those words in my head. Doesn't mean I'm happy. It wasn't bitterness in her voice. It wasn't an invitation either. It was a confession, like something slipped out she hadn't meant to say. Or maybe she had, but didn't expect me to hear it. That line haunted me the rest of the day and the day after. I started watching the door every morning again, not because I wanted to flirt or anything stupid like that. I just wanted to see her to understand. I didn't even know her name yet, but I knew she wasn't okay, and for some reason that mattered to me more than I thought it would. She came back the next morning, same time, same walk, same outfit style, calm, composed, careful. But after that line the day before, nothing about her felt the same. She didn't avoid me, but she didn't acknowledge what she said either. Just gave a small nod when I handed her the latte. I was tempted to say something, anything, but I didn't. I didn't want to push it. Maybe it was one of those moments that just slips out and shouldn't be dug into. Still, I couldn't unhear, doesn't mean I'm happy. That line stayed with me like a song stuck in my head, and every time I looked at her now, I noticed things I hadn't before, the tight way she held her jaw, the way her eyes darted toward the window when someone walked by, how she never answered phone calls, just looked at the screen and flipped it over. A woman with invisible bruises. Over the next week, she kept coming in. We spoke here and there, mostly light stuff. She told me she worked in publishing, said it like it didn't mean much. When I asked if she liked it, she hesitated before saying, I used to. I told her I was originally from Idaho, came to Austin for a reset. She said, that sounds nice. I couldn't tell if she meant it or wished for the same. Then one night she came in late. The coffee shop was already closed, chairs stacked, floor half mopped. I was at the bar finishing up inventory when I saw her silhouette in the window. She looked hesitant, like she was debating walking away. I opened the door before she could. Hey, you okay? She didn't answer at first, just stood there, arms crossed, looking down at her feet. I didn't know where else to go, she finally said. Come in, I said softly, stepping aside. She walked in slowly like she was carrying something heavy on her back. I pulled out one of the chairs by the window, her usual seat. She sat down without saying a word. I poured her a fresh cup of herbal tea, set it down, and sat across from her. The silence was thick but not uncomfortable, just heavy. I told him I was staying late at work, she said eventually. I'm not. I'm not even sure why I lied. He probably knows anyway. He tracks my phone sometimes. She looked at me, then away. Her fingers were nervously tracing the rim of the mug. I don't think he's ever hit me. Not physically, but he breaks things when he's angry, throws them, punches, walls, calls me names, and then acts like I'm overreacting if I flinch. He says I make things up, that I twist everything, that I'm too sensitive, that if I left no one would care. I didn't know what to say. Anything I thought of felt either useless or too much. So I stayed quiet. He cheats on me, she added flatly. I know it. I've seen the messages. Once I even called a number. A girl answered and hung up when I asked who she was. When I confronted him, he said I was sick in the head, that I'm lucky he puts up with me. Still no tears, just a steady, tired voice. I asked gently, why are you telling me all this? She stared out the window for a long moment, then said, because you didn't ask me to, and because you looked at me like I'm still a person. That one hit me hard. I don't even know you that well, she said, almost smiling. But this sitting here, it's the first time in weeks I feel like I'm not crazy. I finally spoke. You're not crazy. You're in pain, and it shows. She looked down again, her fingers now gripping the cup like it was anchoring her. I don't even want anything from you, Lucas. I'm not here because I'm bored or looking for whatever. I just needed somewhere to sit where no one would make me feel small. Then sit here as long as you want, I said. We didn't speak much more after that. I turned the lights lower. She drank her tea slowly. I wiped down the last of the counters and pretended not to notice when she quietly sighed into the steam of her mug. It was late when she finally swooped it up. Thanks for not asking too many questions, she said at the door. You're welcome to come back anytime. She looked at me again just for a second, like she was trying to memorize that sentence, then nodded and walked out into the night. I watched her until she disappeared down the block, and I just stood there, hands still on the door handle, heart heavier than it had been in a long time. I didn't know what this was, friendship support, something else. But I knew one thing for sure: she didn't need saving. She just needed someone to remind her she could save herself. 3 days passed. She didn't come in, no morning visits, no late night check-ins, just silence. I told myself to stop thinking about it, that maybe she had a rough day and needed space. Maybe she was trying to patch things up with her husband. Maybe she regretted being vulnerable with me. But the truth was, I worried. I caught myself checking the window every time someone walked by. I stayed late at the shop even when we were slow, just in case she showed up again. But she didn't until the fourth night. It was pouring rain, the kind of Texas storm where the streets flood in minutes and the sky turns a shade of gray you only see in movies. I was just locking the back door when I heard a knock on the front glass. I turned, squinting through the rain. It was her. She was soaked, completely drenched, no umbrella, no jacket. Her hair was stuck to her face and neck, mascara smeared, hands shaking. She wasn't crying, but her eyes looked like they had been. I ran to the door and pulled it open. Jesus, Haley, come in. You're soaked. She stepped in without a word, water pooling beneath her shoes on the floor. Her lips were slightly parted like she was trying to speak, but didn't know where to start. Come on, I said gently, taking her arm. Let's get you dry. I led her to the back and handed her a clean hoodie from my locker. She disappeared into the staff restroom to change while I grabbed a towel and started making tea. When she came back, she was barefoot, hair still damp, sleeves pulled over her hands like she was trying to hide inside the fabric. She sat down at the same table as before, like it was the only place in the world that felt safe. I placed the tea in front of her. She held it, not drinking, just letting the warmth seep into her hands. He threw a glass at the wall, she said quietly. Not at me, but close enough. I said nothing, just listened. He was yelling because I didn't answer his call right away. I was in the kitchen. He said I am disrespectful, ungrateful that no one else would tolerate me. She looked up, eyes glassy but dry. And the worst part, she asked, I almost apologized. I stood there in the middle of shattered glass, actually thinking maybe I shouldn't have left my phone in the other room, like somehow it was my fault. Again, she shook her head slowly. I told him I was going for a walk. He laughed and said I wouldn't dare. So I walked out. I had no plan, no keys, no bag, just me in the rain. That explained the way she looked. She had run not just from a fight, but from a life that was choking her. You're safe here, I said. You know that, right? She nodded faintly. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what? For dragging you into this. You didn't drag me into anything, I stayed. That made her blink like no one had ever said that to her before. I don't even know what I'm doing, she said. I don't want to jump into something just because I'm broken. That's not fair to you. This isn't about me, I said gently. You don't owe me anything. You're allowed to be confused, to feel everything or nothing. You're allowed to sit here and drink tea and say nothing for hours. That's okay. She looked down at the cup in her hands, then back at me. Why are you being so kind? I could have said a dozen things, but the only one that felt true was this, because I see you. Silence settled again, but this time it felt lighter, like air returning to a space where someone had been holding their breath for too long. She stayed for a while, just sitting, watching the rain hit the windows. I gave her dry socks from the back. We didn't talk much more. She looked exhausted, like her whole body was running on the last thread of energy. Eventually she stood. I should go. I offered to call her a ride, but she shook her head. No, I just needed this. I'm okay now. She handed me the hoodie. I told her to keep it. She smiled, small but genuine. At the door, she paused. I'm not ready for anything, she said, but this tonight it helped me remember I'm still a person. Then she walked out into the quiet streets, the rain finally easing up, leaving behind the faint scent of tea rainwater and something I hadn't felt in a long time, hope. The message came while I was halfway through grinding a new bag of espresso beans, my phone buzzing in my apron pocket. Normally I don't check texts while working, especially during the morning rush, but something nudged me to look, maybe instinct. It was from an unknown number. I told him I'm done. No name, no context, but I knew exactly who it was. I stood still for a second, heart kicking harder than it should have, my hands still dusted with coffee grounds tightened around the phone. I didn't reply. Not yet. I needed a second to breathe, to process. She'd left him. Some part of me had hoped it would happen. Some other part was terrified it had. The rest of the day passed in a haze. I smiled at customers, made cappuccinos, wiped counters, but my mind was elsewhere. I kept checking the door every few minutes, half expecting her to walk in. She didn't. Just before closing, I saw a shadow outside. When I looked up, she was there, dry this time, composed, hair brushed, coat zipped, standing tall. But her eyes, they were tired, not just from lack of sleep, but a deeper kind of tired, the kind that builds over years of swallowing your voice. I unlocked the door before she even knocked. She stepped in and gave me a small smile. Hi. Hey. We stood there for a beat, not knowing what to say next. So I stepped aside and gestured to her usual table. She nodded and walked over. I poured 2 mugs of coffee and joined her. So, I started careful. You left. She exhaled. I left, she said simply. Packed a suitcase this morning and told him I was going to stay with a friend. He didn't believe me, said I was bluffing, that I'd be back by dinner. She stirred her coffee slowly, but I wasn't bluffing. Not this time. I watched her closely. Where are you staying? With Rachel, she said, my college roommate. We haven't spoken in months, but I called her this morning. She told me to come right away, didn't even ask why. She's a good friend. She's the only one I've got, Haley said, or the only one I thought I had. I didn't say anything, but I think she knew I counted myself in now. He was calm at first, she continued. Didn't even raise his voice, just sat there drinking his coffee while I zipped my bag. Then he said, I give it 3 days before you come crawling back. Like it was a game, like I was just making a dramatic scene. Do you think you will? She looked at me sharply. No, she said. For the first time, I don't want to go back. I don't care if I have to sleep on Rachel's couch or take the bus or eat frozen pizza every day. I just want to be free, even if I have no clue what comes next. We sat in silence for a while. She sipped her coffee. I watched the steam rise from her cup like it carried all the years she'd bottled up. Then she said, "You know what's strange? What? I didn't do this for someone else. Not for you, not for Rachel, not even because he hurt me. I did it because last night, sitting here, I remembered who I used to be before him." I didn't interrupt. Her voice was steady but low. "There was this moment when you told me I was safe here, and I believed you. And I realized how long it's been since I've felt safe anywhere." She looked up. "So thank you, not for saving me, just for being the first quiet place I've had in years." I felt something move in my chest, not romantic, not dramatic, just real. "You don't owe me anything," I said. "You didn't have to say that." "I know," she replied, "but I wanted to." There was something different in her now, not strength exactly, but clarity, like she could finally hear her own voice again. We stayed there until the shop closed. I let her lock the front door with me. We took out the trash together, laughing about how bad it smelled. She helped me clean the espresso machine, even though I told her not to. She said it made her feel normal again, useful. Before she left, I asked her if she needed a ride. She shook her head. "Rachel's already circling the block." I opened the door for her. She paused on the threshold. "I don't know where this goes," she said. "You and me, I mean. Maybe it's just coffee and kindness. Maybe more, maybe nothing." I nodded. "That's okay." She leaned in, gave me a quick hug, nothing romantic, just warm human. "You're a good man, Lucas." And then she was gone. I stood at the door for a long time after, not because I was mad, not because I was confused, but because for the first time I saw someone walk away from pain and not look back. And I felt lucky to witness it. 2.5 weeks passed, not that I was counting, but I kind of was. After that night, she walked out the door, hugged me, called me a good man. I didn't see Haley for a while. She didn't come into the shop, didn't text, no calls, nothing. At first, I told myself it was probably a good thing. She needed space time to figure out her new life, get her head straight, maybe reconnect with people she hadn't spoken to in years. But deep down, I missed her, and not in a desperate romantic kind of way. I just missed the presence of her, the way she sat with her hands around a warm mug, like it was a shield, the way she would glance sideways at me when I wasn't looking, the calm she brought when she was finally allowed to be quiet. I didn't reach out. I didn't want her to feel like she owed me anything. Not closure, not explanation, not even hello. She owed herself more than anyone else. And then just like that one afternoon, there she was. I was refilling the pastry case, talking to a college kid about whether we had gluten-free banana bread, when I looked up and she was standing in line. Her hair was a little shorter. She wore jeans and a simple gray sweater. No makeup, no hesitation. She looked peaceful, and I hadn't seen that version of her before. I didn't say anything, just smiled as she stepped up to the counter. "Medium latte, no sugar," I asked, already reaching for the cup. She laughed. "Still remember hazard of the job." We locked eyes for a second. It wasn't intense or dramatic or anything like out of a movie. It was simple, solid. She took the cup and stepped aside, waited while I finished serving two more people. Then she moved to the corner table by the window, her old spot. When the line died down, I made myself a drink and walked over. "Mind if I join you?" She smiled and pushed her bag aside. "Of course." We sat. "I didn't think you'd come back," I said after a moment. "I didn't either," she admitted. "Not because I didn't want to, just I needed to be away from everything familiar for a while, even the good stuff." I nodded. "Makes sense." She took a sip, then exhaled. "I got a job offer," she said. "Small publishing house in Denver, assistant editor. Nothing big, but they like my portfolio." "That's amazing." "Yeah, I think I'm going to take it." There was a pause. I nodded again, this time slower. "You should." She glanced at me, then looked out the window. I stayed with Rachel for 2 weeks, cried a lot, slept a little, walked everywhere, thought about who I'd become, who I used to be. It's weird leaving someone who's been in your life that long. You feel like your whole identity collapses. But then one day I woke up and didn't feel like us anymore, just me. She looked at me again. And that morning I thought of you. Me. You were the first person in years who didn't try to fix me, didn't tell me what to do. You just saw me. And when someone sees you, it's harder to keep hiding from yourself. I didn't know what to say, so I just held her gaze. I'm not here to start something with you, she added. At least not now. I'm not running to anyone anymore. I'm walking toward myself. I smiled. I wouldn't want it any other way. She looked down at her hands. I used to think relationships had to be dramatic, complicated, intense. But now I think maybe the good ones are the quiet ones, the ones where you sit across from someone in silence and still feel seen. We finished our drinks without saying much else, just sitting the way we used to, but lighter now. When she stood up, I walked her to the door. We paused there for a moment, sunlight spilling in through the glass. I'm leaving in a few days, she said, but I want to see you before I go. I'm glad you did. She stepped outside, then turned back. You know, I keep thinking about what you said that first day. Too bad you're taken. I chuckled. Yeah, I didn't exactly plan that one. She smiled. Well, now I'm not, she said, and for the first time in my life, I'm free. Then she turned, walked down the sidewalk, and disappeared into the afternoon crowd. I didn't chase her, didn't call out, didn't ask for more, because her story didn't need a kiss or a promise. It just needed an ending she chose for herself. And I was lucky enough to be a small, quiet part of it. Lucas's story is set in the quiet hum of an Austin coffee shop, delivers a heart-wrenching lesson. True kindness lies in seeing someone's pain without trying to fix it, offering a safe space for them to rediscover their own strength. Haley, with her sad eyes and unspoken burdens, walks into Lucas's life, unraveling a tale of emotional abuse and silent resilience. Her confession doesn't mean I'm happy, and her eventual escape from a toxic marriage reveal the courage it takes to reclaim one's identity. Lucas's role isn't that of a savior, but a witness providing a haven where Haley feels human again. This teaches us that sometimes the greatest gift we can offer is presence, listening without judgment, holding space for someone's truth. It's a raw reminder that we all carry invisible bruises, and healing begins when someone sees us not as broken, but as whole. Lucas's restraint, his choice to support without expectation, mirrors the delicate balance we must strike between compassion and boundaries. Haley's journey to freedom, sparked by quiet moments over coffee shows, that liberation often starts with a single brave step towards self. Haven't we all longed for someone to see us in our darkest moments? Her story and Lucas's quiet heroism urge us to be that light for others, to offer kindness that empowers rather than entangles. If Haley's courage or Lucas's compassion moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever found strength in someone's quiet support? Your story could inspire others. For more tales of raw human connection and life's profound lessons, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Join our community to explore the moments that remind us we're all just trying to be seen. Let's grow through these stories together.